everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Off-season update number 2. Had a lot of news trickle in between the first video to the second one. A lot of stuff going on within the Indoor Football League and all around the indoor and arena world as a whole. But we'll touch on that when, we get on the episodes of the shady sports stuff and when I get on there. But Indoor Football League related stuff in these videos. So without further ado, we got a lot of stuff to touch on. We got open tryouts. We got to take a ride on the coaching carousel. We got to do a roster roundup. And, as every team is filling out their 40-man rosters and everything like that for training camp, before the season starts, we got to talk schedule. We got to talk relocation, everything like that. So without further ado, a lot of things to touch on. Let's go touch on them. Okay, so team tryouts, open tryouts, things along those lines. Before I do that, I'll pop up the first image here. I do want to give kudos to the Indoor Football League's social media team and the people that pump out these graphics. I want to do a better job with off-season updates, and obviously as the season goes along, as we go into the 2026 season, I do want to give shout-outs. If I don't tell the person by name, then I at least want to give shout-outs to the social media teams, because I don't like it when people steal my stuff, so I don't want to steal people's stuff without giving the proper kudos and things like that. So kudos to the Indoor Football League and their social media team for pumping out these graphics, and I'll kind of touch on those as the graphics pop up. So first thing we want to talk about is open tryouts, and this is an old one, but kind of one. I got two others that I want to talk about because I know that the Indoor Football League put out a new one, but I do want to talk about a couple of others as well. But open tryouts, if you attended the one on November 8th to the Tulsa Oilers, sweet. If you didn't, you've got plenty more opportunities depending on where you live, I guess. But November 15th, just in a couple of days, the New Mexico Chupacabras have an open tryout, and you can always find their information on their websites, on the Indoor Football League website as well. Whatever you guys need to do, you guys can navigate a phone, I hope. November 22nd, the San Antonio Gunslingers have an open tryout. And then November 29th, the Arizona Rattlers have an open tryout as well. So plenty of teams having open tryouts between pretty much now and 2026. So the next one I want to talk about is the week after the Arizona Rattlers. And again, kudos to the Quad City Steamwheelers graphics team for pumping out the graphic like this. They are also hosting an open tryout. So it's like 4 weeks, 5 weeks in a row, if you include Tulsa, that all of these teams are having open tryouts. So if you got the money to go and try out for all of these teams, great. If not, December 7th, Quad City's having theirs. And then next one I want to talk about here is open tryouts on January 3rd. This is pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. It's 3 teams. It's Green Bay, Fishers, and Vegas. And again, kudos to, I believe this is the Vegas social media team that pumped this out. So kudos to you guys on your graphics. You guys all make amazing graphics. I wish I could do so cool stuff like that. But regardless, 3 teams having an open tryout in Michigan. Now, the cool thing about this is there's no team in Michigan. So all 3 of these teams, Vegas included, are traveling to Michigan to host an open tryout. And if you know anything about football, if you know ball, there's a lot of talent within that Midwest Rust Belt region between Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, like all around the Great Lakes area, even into Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and stuff like that. So to have a team like Vegas come all the way over to Michigan, have Green Bay and Fishers travel there as well to have this tryout, it's pretty cool. So again, we got a lot of tryouts going on between pretty much now and the start of 2026. And again, January 3rd for that one. And just a couple months later, we're starting the season. So yeah, not a lot of time for a lot of tryouts, but you get to showcase yourselves at least once a weekend between now and pretty much 2026. So that's where we have it. Let's go take a ride on the coaching carousel as teams are solidifying their coaching staffs for the 2026 season, and we'll go to the roster roundup after that and touch on everything else. Okay, another go around on the coaching carousel, and one team just pretty much just came out with their entire coaching staff. Again, kudos to the graphics department for the Green Bay Blizzard for putting all of these together, but we'll just kind of rattle all of these off as they're right here. But head coach Corey Roberson, GM as well, he comes back for yet another season, hoping to replicate the success that they had from 2025. Along with him, Matt Barrett and Dean Picotti. Markel Willis with your wide receivers coach, and then on the defensive side of the ball, Deldrick Canty, former Green Bay Blizzard player, and Sue Kamara, assistant defensive line coach. He did have a season-ending injury, I believe, last year, so nice to see him transition over to the coaching staff to hopefully build some insight, mentor, do all of those things. So that's where we have it. Lastly, Levi Nelson as your team analyst, and that's your coaching staff for the Green Bay Blizzard for 2026. So they just came out right with it and said, hey, here's all of our coaches. Obviously, quite a few returning familiar faces as well. So Green Bay hoping to build on the success that they had last year. A lot of returning coaches, returning players. That's where you go with it. A couple of other guys to touch on as well. For New Mexico, Colton Hansen has been hired as the offensive coordinator. So you got your defensive coordinator, you got your head coach, now you've got your offensive coordinator. So for the most part, you've got the big three coordinator and head coach positions all filled. Now we'll see how they kind of line up everything else as the season, or the offseason, I guess, progresses. For San Diego, it didn't necessarily need to be reiterated, but we kind of knew what was going to happen. Taylor Jenniser is back for another year. Patrick Kelly as the general manager, he is returning as well. So just same thing for San Diego like it is for Green Bay. Just, hey, let's return, let's run this back, see what we can do with another year under our belts, players returning, what have you, and we just kind of go from there. So San Diego sitting right where they want to be, and we'll see if that leads to more success in 2026. Last but not least, for Tucson with new coaching staff, everything that's, kind of turned over for them from ownership to coaching to players and everything else. Al Alexander, defensive line coach and run game coordinator, is hired on for the Sugar Skulls, and they just add to that list of Rashawn Kaiser's coaching staff. So more or less, we're going to see how Tucson does, and hopefully with the turnover, with new ownership and everything like that, they can get back to their winning ways, because they've kind of fallen on some dark days in the last couple of years. But we'll see if this leads to some success. We'll see what happens with that. But that's pretty much what we have for the coaching carousel for this go around. We'll see what happens in the next, if we even need to do another one. But like I said, most coaching staffs are getting solidified, so we just go from there. Let's go do our roster roundup, talk some odds and ends and some rumors, and we'll get out of here. Okay, let's get into it. Roster roundup, roster update. This is as good as I can get it with all the transactions and all the social media pages and stuff like that. Am I going to miss players? Yeah, so don't come at me. No one's come at me yet, so kudos to you guys. But if you want to, go for it, I guess. But yeah, are these going to be 100% accurate? I hope to God, but as always, there'll probably be players that slip through the cracks or things along those lines. So, as always, alphabetical order. Sorry, Vegas, you are last. Double tap the screen or try and scroll or scrub or whatever you got to do to get to your roster if you don't want to go through all of these. That's what we have. Highlighted in red are going to be the new signees from the last offseason update. So I'm not going to touch on the entire roster, just kind of the guys that have been signed. So without further ado, let's get into our roster roundup. For the Arizona Rattlers, the biggest names on the roster roundup for them, Kaimani Clark coming over from the Green Bay Blizzard, so there's going to be a lot of chemistry in that dual threat of Max Myler and Kaimani Clark in the backfield. On the offensive line, they've signed quite a bit of players. Nick Ford coming over from the Massachusetts Pirates, and then I believe it's Okiki, if that's how it's pronounced. I do apologize, very bottom of the offensive line. He was with Northern Arizona for a minute. I do not believe he got into a single game. They got a couple of rookies with Nelson and Mincy. Jakari Larmond is on the defensive line. We'll see if he can make the cut or how that goes. Isaiah Major at the linebacker spot. Couple of signings on the secondary. Isaiah Huff gets re-signed. Cyrus Fagan comes over from the San Diego Strike Force. And then a couple of rookies with Decius. I do not know how to, is it Karl Vansky? There you go. Kenny Gallup and Marcus Hillman rounded out. Michael Brown has been added to the league injured reserve, and that's what we have it. Everyone else I've either talked about or we've gone through. So getting close to that 40-man threshold, and we'll see what players are released and everything between now and then, what players are still signed, and there we go. So let's move on to Fishers. quick and easy for the Fisher's Freight. Only one player has been signed between the last offseason update and this one, and it's a doozy. It is JT Stokes coming back for another season. He's been around the game for quite a while in this league, but adding back, they've got their 4 top wide receivers, I believe, which I'm pretty sure it is with their running game that they had last year. But yeah, the top 4 wide receivers from last year all re-signing and then bringing in CJ Wyndham. There you go. So not a lot to talk about there, but JT Stokes does add another wrinkle to the game for Fishers. That's all we got to talk about for them. Let's go take a look at Green Bay. For the Green Bay Blizzard, they have just a couple signings, and it's just the exodus of the Bay Area Panthers coming over here, not the entire team, because they've kind of, dispersed into different areas, but 2 have been signed over here. Let's talk Robert Lacey first. The bottom of the offensive line right there from Tennessee State. It's going to be hard for him to crack into that offensive line, depending on who stays, who goes, but signing or re-signing the 2 Blizzard from last year and then bringing in Salter and Navarro from Bay Area. We'll see if Lacey can make a name for himself. For the Bay Area Panthers, bringing over Jonathan Ross to Green Bay is going to beef up that defensive line, and we know Green Bay always has a very salty defensive line added to Sean Mustin and Allen Henry. That's going to make a defense a little scary if I'm not going to say so myself. In the secondary, Landry Mavungu is added. Frankie West Jr. comes over as well. We talked about him in the previous video, but again, not a lot of Green Bay Blizzard have been re-signed. They've signed more Bay Area Panthers than they have Green Bay Blizzard. Now, the success of a season will do that. Players will go to different leagues, different teams and stuff like that, either for a bigger payday or, to see if the grass is greener on the other side. So I'm not surprised that Green Bay has, signed as little talent as they have, but there's still plenty of time to re-sign a lot of guys. But this is where we have it. Finally, they have future considerations trade, which these pretty much amount to nothing half the time, but they traded with Quad City. We'll talk about Quad City in their own separate slide, but that's where we have it right now. Just a couple of signings for the Blizzard. Let's go talk about Iowa. For the Iowa Barnstormers, a couple of signings for themselves as well, kind of rounding out an offensive line. Tyrone Chambers coming over from Quad City, and then McLean Doja is signed. I believe he is a former Sioux Falls Storm, so he does have indoor football experience. So kind of have a pretty experienced offensive line when it comes to the Iowa Barnstormers. They will need that. We will see what else they have to sign, or if they're going to run it with Harrison Robideau and Ivan Corbin. So that's kind of how we have it. Defensively, Zach Neinkirk is added to that defensive line. We'll see if he can make a name for himself with the other rookies that they have signed as well, and kind of how that defense is going to shape itself out. Lastly, Troy Lefaged. Correct me how to pronounce it, but he is added to that secondary, which you can see the space between Jared Sod. It shouldn't be there. It should be, screw that up, but oh well. Cam Mitchell-Johnson, Jared Sod, Isaiah Smith, Khalil Finley. We'll see if any of those secondary guys can make a name for themselves, if they can, switch into a linebacker spot if they need to, whatever they got to do to make the team. That's how we kind of have it. But just a couple of signings for Iowa. They're turning out a pretty good roster, all things considered. We'll see how that translates if it goes to wins or losses. We'll do a preview, obviously, for all of that stuff later on. But for right now, not a bad roster for Iowa. Let's go take a look at Jacksonville. For the Jacksonville Sharks, a couple of signings for them as well. Jameis Williams is signed from the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and that adds a nice little wrinkle to that running game. A nice little 1-2 punch with Jimmy Robinson and Jameis Williams. He can also play defensive back if you need him to, because he did that for Tucson as well. He was an interception machine there for a minute, so we'll see how that goes. But all things considered, probably sticking him at the running back, wide receiver kind of spot when it comes to that. Red Douglas is signed from Findlay. He's going to add to the depth of that wide receiving core, and we'll see if he makes the team or how the cuts and everything kind of go from there. Baraka Beckett added to the defensive line, and I just love saying that name. I'm just going to tell you that right now because I do love Mortal Kombat, and Baraka is one of those guys that I love playing with. Anyway, side notes aside, there you go. Nice little hobbies for Cody. But that defensive line rounding itself out very nicely with Rashawn Wilkins and Chris Rice coming back. We'll see if they need any more depth or if they just run it with those 3 guys and see how that goes. Lastly, in the secondary, which it's a little iffy for me right now. A lot of rookies in that secondary, but that didn't stop Jacksonville from last year either. Peyton Buckley being signed as the last I need to talk about, but again, not a lot of depth right there, only 5 guys, and we'll see how that kind of goes with itself, if they sign any more, how it goes from that. But really, Jacksonville running it back for the most part with quite a few re-signings and a couple of guys being signed from other teams like Williams and Cahoon. We'll see how it goes, but they've surprised me with quite a few positions and players and stuff like that. So hopefully that continues. But anyway, let's move on to the Pirates. For the Pirates, no one. Like, simple as that. We'll talk about Massachusetts and stuff later on when we do odds and ends. But right now, they've got a press conference and stuff. And again, we'll talk about that in a minute. But no signings, no nothing. We got to go from there. They got to secure their location, which, there you go. Question mark, exclamation point, potentially. I mean, you see the new logo in the back. And again, we'll talk about that too. But nothing for the Pirates. I hope to God they keep it like this, like the Oakland Athletics or whatever. They're just the Athletics now, like the Pirates. That's it. That's all you are. You don't have a location. Pirates didn't have a location. They just had a boat. Like, you just be the Pirates. That's what. That's all you need. But anyway, yeah, nothing to report on for Massachusetts or Orlando or wherever. So anyway, the Pirates. Let's go take a look at New Mexico. For the New Mexico Chupacabras, they have quite a few signings on the offensive side of the ball, most notably Jerome Johnson coming over from the Vegas Nighthawks. Now, there is a little bit of controversy with this. He was signed by the Albany Firebirds, but apparently he has not been released yet. This Week in Arena Ball has said something along those lines on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not sure how that goes, but right now New Mexico claims that he is signed to the Chupacabras. I'm going to roll with that. If something pops itself up, I'll try and report on it, talk about it, whatever we need to do. Gernard Nunley is your running back. I'm sorry I couldn't find if he went to college or anything. Sometimes players don't go to college and they just play arena ball, so that's where we have it. Braylon Henderson, Maurice Ashley, Andrew Banks, Damon Street, and Mike Green, which I think Mike Green played for the Green Bay Blizzard a season or two ago, and I swear Damon Street sounds very familiar, but I don't know if he played indoor football, but that's where we have it. Dante Ogburn returning back to New Mexico when he played for the Duke City Gladiators, so you get an offensive lineman signed right there. Maurice Jackson comes over from Vegas as well, so a little bit of line depth for the Chupacabras. And lastly, Joshus Clark to that secondary to help that out. So a lot of positions at wide receiver, a lot of positions at the secondary and the defensive back positions. We'll see how a lot of that stuff plays out, but obviously the one you want to talk about is Jerome Johnson. We'll see how the rest of this roster starts to shake itself out as they begin their inaugural season. But that's what we have for the New Mexico Chupacabras. Let's go take a look at the Northern Arizona Wranglers. For Northern Arizona, it's kind of like Fishers. We only have one person to talk about. It is wide receiver Jordan Jakes from Valdosta State, but look at his size, 6'6", 218 pounds. That is a big boy at the wide receiver spot. I'm not saying he's going to make the roster, but man, if that guy can get some jump passes thrown his way, that's where we have it. Other than that, not really much else to talk about for Northern Arizona. Again, like we talked on the last one, re-signed quite a bit of players. Is that going to translate to more wins with more, familiarity with the offense and defensive schemes? Remains to be seen, but I try to be an optimist and hope that, hey, maybe they turn it around for a couple extra wins. Maybe they push for the playoffs. Who knows? But that's all we have for the Wranglers right now. Let's go take a look at the Quad City Steamwheelers. For the Quad City Steamwheelers, they have added players at pretty much every position. Jared Ware is re-signed. Jarius Burnett is signed for the running back spots, so a little bit of veteran and rookie leadership there. Kevon Rudd comes back for yet another season, and that's pretty good for Jordan Vesey and company as well at the wide receiving core. Offensive line is rounded out. Cody Bullig is traded over from Tucson. Actually, he was with Iowa. I can't remember. He was with somewhere, and then, I put Tucson as a 2025 team, but you get what I'm saying. So I think he was with Iowa and then signed over here, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Go check the transactions page. I'm not doing it. Javion Caldwell also signed. He was with Quad City and Tucson from last year. So again, just more experience at that offensive line to help out Joe Crowell. Defensively, Rashawn Williams comes over from Tulsa and Green Bay, and then David Abelarina. I will get it eventually. Anyway, two signings on that defensive line. Quite a bit of depth and leadership on the defensive line as well. More Dunga, Trey Henry, and Rashawn Williams. For the secondary, Cam Harrell and Kevin Ransom are signed to that defensive back position, Jamon Williams as well. But then again, you add Darian Jackson, Kevin Hyde, that secondary just looks very, very good. I mean, you're pretty much missing Chris Chukwuemeka, and you bring back the entire starting core of that secondary, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's what we have for the Quad City Steamwheelers. They have quite a few positions pretty much filled at this point, so where we have it. As a Quad City fan, I will hold my breath, but still plenty of signings to have. But let's go take a look at our San Antonio Gunslingers. For the San Antonio Gunslingers, a couple of signings, especially at the offensive line position, but then kind of peppered throughout the roster as well. Running backs Kelvin Smith and Justin Stockton. Indoor veteran Justin Stockton, too, has been around the block a couple of times, so adding another stop in San Antonio, we'll see how that goes. On the offensive line, Dazion Carroll, again, another kind of veteran of the game. I pretty much say veteran if you've played a year, because you kind of know what you're doing. So, yeah, Dazion Carroll, I believe former Sioux Falls Storm, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, adding a little bit of depth and experience at the offensive line. Gabriel Rankin, Colton Greer, and then Desmond Thomas, I believe, a former Green Bay Blizzard, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me, because like I said, memory gets a little bit hazy. You're talking all these names, all these positions and players and stuff like that. So, again, people that have better memories than I do, go ahead and correct me. I'm not going to be butthurt about it. Daniel Williams assigned at the defensive line spot, and again, that's going to be a tough position to crack considering all the experience that they have, but we'll see if some guys just don't want to play or want to pay for or play for a higher paycheck or whatever the case could be, who knows. And I'm not saying people are paying under the table or whatever, And the secondary, Richie Coffey coming over from the Jacksonville Sharks to add some experience to that spot. And then lastly, Dylan Fedor, however you pronounce it, he is signed to the kicker spot, which gives you a little bit of mystery. Tyler Huddle, is he the guy? Is he him? We don't know. You brought in another kicker, so we might be having a kicker competition in San Antonio, which some people don't even have kickers signed. So they got two. They're ahead of the game, it seems. But that's where we have it for San Antonio. They have filled out their roster pretty well. They've got depth at every position except pretty much quarterback. So that's where we have it for San Antonio. They look pretty good, all things considered. We'll see, like I said, with Northern Arizona. We'll see if that translates to win. They've got quite a few guys with a lot of experience. So we'll see how it goes. Let's go take a look at San Diego. For the Strike Force, they have a lot of players, but they had him signed in the last one, so we're only going to talk about a couple of them. Notably, David Elder coming over from Northern Arizona. Without Rudy Johnson, you wonder. I'm not saying David Elder is going to be that quarterback kind of guy, but 5'9", 180, able to return kicks, able to, wide receiver, running back. I mean, kind of be a jack of all trades without the quarterback spot. You might need that if you don't bring back Rudy Johnson. So, kind of see how that goes. Offensive line, I did see I don't think it was in the transactions page, but it was on San Diego's Facebook. Jalen Booth is re-signed now. Is that 100% true? Well, it's the internet, so yes, but if San Diego is reporting it, then I will too. So Jalen Booth back for another season. And again, that's a lot of talent on that offensive line. You got to be able to protect Nate Davis. Defensively, Adam Anderson coming over from the University of Georgia. Not much to say about him. You can kind of Google him. I'll reserve my judgments and stuff like that. People deserve second chances, all of that stuff, but kind of the stuff I've seen, you're just like, But I won't disparage the guy if that's who he truly is. And again, this could be a completely different Adam Anderson, so I'm not going to do that. But again, I tried to Google him to figure out where his college was and stuff, and not a lot of good things came out of it. But anyway, like I said, I'm not gonna judge the guy or anything. Second chances, blah blah blah. We go from there. Not gonna try and you get it. KJ Trujillo, finally for the defensive back position from North Alabama. We'll see how that kind of goes in the secondary competition for San Diego. Last but not least, for the Strike Force and their injury call-up and other list, Christian Olmstead is added to the BC Lions for the Canadian Football League, but we are at the Grey Cup level right now between Saskatchewan and Montreal. Saskatchewan sucks. Go Winnipeg. So I guess go Montreal. But anyway, another one, future considerations for the Rattlers, and that's where we have it for San Diego. So, again, quite a few signings for the Strike Force, only a couple to talk about, and that's kind of how it's going to be for the next couple of teams. So, let's go talk about the Tucson Sugar Skulls. For Tucson, just 3 signings to talk about. They've signed quite a bit of players. Cordell Brewster coming over. I think he was with Tucson for a minute, but I know he was with Arizona. So, I mean, if so facto, it's kind of the same thing in a sense. But coming over from Jacksonville and Arizona, he only played 1 game or 2 games with Jacksonville, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Played a couple of games with Arizona. He is a veteran of the game. He's played multiple years. So, yeah, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he's played in Tucson before. But, again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to be mad if I'm wrong. It's just, again, names, players, stuff like that. You try and keep this list going. DeJamon Brooks, I believe, or Diamond Brooks, coming back for another season. And with Jalen Parks and Rafiq Abdul-Wahid, that is quite a bit of experience at the defensive line spot. So nice to have him re-signed for another season. In the secondary, Aaron Jackson is signed from the Fisher's Freight from Duke City. Very good signing that will help out Lyons, Murray, Gladney, Ryan Nixon, Cortez Eatman. I mean, a lot of experience, a lot of practice and everything like that in that secondary. So that's a very, very good secondary. And that's a pretty good defense for Tucson, all things considered. So they're doing work down there in southern Arizona. So let's go take a look at the Tulsa Oilers. I hope you guys can see just how small of a font this is. If you guys need to zoom in, go for it, because Tulsa is just signing anyone and everyone. Like, if you have a pulse, you're a Tulsa Oiler. So quite a few names to talk about, though. In the running back, wide receiver, and again, I've kind of split this up as much as I could because they've listed running back, wide receiver, and wide receiver quarterback and stuff like that. So I'm trying my best to just kind of navigate how it goes. But Anthony James from Morgan State is added to the running back, wide receiver area. We'll see what Tulsa does, because at one point they didn't really have a running back. They did, but they didn't. It was their backup quarterback. So we'll see how they go. Max Novak is back for another season, so that's a pretty stacked wide receiving core. Montario Hunt coming over from Alcorn State for a rookie season, so some depth added at the wide receiving position. Kevin Thurman is added to the defensive line from Arkansas State, which, again, you don't have a lot. We'll see. And I have Marquez Bembry at the defensive line spot. He did play between that and the linebacker position, so we'll see how that kind of goes for him. I do have him at the defensive line spot. He could drop back to the linebacker spot, kind of just go from there. And in the secondary, quite a bit of signings there. Malik Saunier, Cale Jackson, and Tariq Bracy. That is just a loaded and stacked secondary, and you can't carry all of those guys. So some of those guys are going to get cut, and then you have, like I said, Javon France down there below, former Iowa Barnstormer. So it's like you have like, what, 7 or 8 guys right there. Not all of them are making that list. And if you want to carry a rookie, stuff like that, you do have that veteran rule. So like, yeah, it's going to be fun to see how this competition in that Tulsa secondary kind of shakes itself out. We'll be waiting when it comes down to the 25-man roster, but that's what we have it for the Oilers. Finally, let's go talk, obviously, about the defending national champs. Let's go talk about the Vegas Nighthawks. For Vegas, again, same thing with kind of the last couple of teams. A lot of signings, but only a couple to talk about this time. Most notably, Lorenzo Hernandez coming back for another season, and probably need to get confirmation from Mike Davis if William Billy Martin is the guy from Bay Area, or if it's a different Billy Martin or things like that. So if it is William Martin from Bay Area, Northern Arizona, you know, the veteran of the game, then that's a lot of depth at that defensive line. Lastly, Cedric Wilcox coming over from New Mexico State to begin, I believe, a rookie season. And that's pretty much where we have it with the Vegas Nighthawks. And they have just a plethora of talent, man. I mean, look at that offensive line, look at that defensive line, just they're going to be tough to beat again. That's where we have it. But with that is our roster roundup for November 12th. Like I said, I'm sure I missed quite a bit of teams or quite a bit of players, things along those lines. So let me know, comments, things like that. We'll go from there. But let's go talk some rumors. Let's go talk some odds and ends. We'll wrap up and get out of here. All right. It is rumor time. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. If you don't like Fleetwood Mac, first of all, what are you doing? What are you doing? Come on now. Learn ball. Fleetwood Mac is amazing. Anyway, I love music. Another fun fact of Cody. I love music, but we do have to talk some rumors. This is stuff that is posted in Arena Fan. Touched on it a little bit with I can't remember the name of it. I know they're gonna kill me in the chat, I'm sure, but I think it's Around the Indoor World or whatever it is with Shady Sports Network. We touched on it a little bit when I was on there last Saturday. Love Football has commented a couple of times about expansion, schedule, stuff like that. So we're gonna start off with the first one. This was November 4th at almost 3 o'clock. Don't expect to schedule real soon. There is a lot of internal 4-alarm fires that need to be handled. Going to be interesting to see what the co-commissioner, Kevin Guy, has as far as power is concerned now that he no longer, well, his wife, owns the Arizona JV team, Tucson. But the opener is set in stone. It will be Vegas at Green Bay. As for Massachusetts, Florida, pretty sure, just don't know where. So let's digest this one a little bit. Because we do have some stuff to talk about that's not necessarily breaking, but, you know, it's fairly recent what has been announced. So with that, don't expect to schedule real soon. For strictly Blizness, if you don't follow the Green Bay Blizzard or don't subscribe to their YouTube channel or anything like that, they have announced that the schedule will be dropping in the middle of December. There's a tweet that they have about it. There's stuff that Kathy is not going to leak, and if it gets leaked, then she will share it, but she's not leaking anything. And then if you go check out multiple Indoor Football League Twitter accounts, X accounts, whatever, the home dates are going to be announced on the 13th. So tomorrow, today, whenever I decide to get this out. So don't expect to schedule real soon, but with the home dates being announced, you can start to piece together the schedule. Now, maybe the actual dates and times and stuff like that will change, but for the most part, you are going to start seeing some schedules get dropped, at least the home schedules, and that's where you can start to piece together home, away, stuff like that. So the full schedule will be dropped in the middle of December, but for, you know, super fans like me and the people that, you know, go through all of this stuff, you will start to piece together the schedule, if so facto. For that bottom part, Massachusetts, we'll talk about that in a second. And then there was a second comment. This is what I talked about on Shady Sports. It says, my guess right now is no new teams other than New Mexico, which it's the middle of November. If there's a team that's announced, they better have been announced months ago for any sort of season ticket push, things like that. And ultimately, yeah, I did not expect any other team other than New Mexico. I figured we'd have 15 teams, but Bay Area dropped, so there you have it. You still have 14 teams. They still have no idea if Massachusetts has a home, so making a schedule is fruitless, which, again, apparently false for some teams. Also, there's a lot of very, very bad blood amongst competing ownership factions, yes, factions, as well as between the factions and the league execs. So much for being partners. This does not bode well for stability. And if the money people finally exit as they claim, this is the Germain family, the people that own the Frisco Fighters and the proposed Columbus Wild Dogs. So if they finally exit as they claim they were doing over the past seasons, salaries of the powers that be, which I believe is the IFL front office, will be drastically slashed. And if this occurs, look out. So again, a lot to digest in this one as well. The first thing I want to say, and kind of what I said in around the arena world or around the indoor football world or whatever, take this stuff with a grain of salt. And what I mean by that is, that doesn't mean that this isn't true. That doesn't mean that this is false. There's probably some gray area in it, and you kind of just take it in stride. Now, with this, I do want to put out there, if all of this is true, this might be why the Indoor Football League has been radio silent for the past season and a half, it seems. If it's not true, or if there's any inkling of truth to it, there needs to be some sort of transparency. I doubt we'll ever get it, but at the same time, to leak this kind of stuff, again, whether it's true or not, it could be someone that just has, just like sour grapes towards the Indoor Football League. I don't believe that, because Love Football, Love FB has been pretty accurate, although not 100%, pretty accurate with some of the stuff that she has claimed. For instance, obviously Massachusetts going to Florida, things like that. She has also said that there's going to be a team in Greenville, South Carolina, potentially a team in Virginia. Those have not come to fruition. She has said that there's the Orlando Predators coming into the league, which there was a little bit of smoke to that in the offseason last year, from what I've been told. So, yeah, that's the reason why Orlando didn't play last year and they went dormant. There was a little bit of smoke to that, but I'm not going to get into that. But regardless, if there's factions, and it's kind of what I talked about a little bit too, we know that there's ECHL ownership. We know that there's old ownership. And I don't mean old as in like age. I mean old as in like there's ownership that dates back years. We're talking AFL 1.0, 2.0, whatever. And then we're talking, different ownerships that's been around for quite a while. We're talking old money when it comes to that. We're talking new money when it comes to, like I said, ECHL ownership, new teams coming in, new ownership, New Mexico. I'm not trying to call people out or single people out or stuff like that. I'm just saying for the sake of like old ownership to new ownership, that's what we have. So if there are warring factions, there's a power struggle going on, what have you, and that's what we have. That's what we have. Is it true? I'm not going to speculate on it, but if it's put out here kind of in this public domain, I do want to touch on it a little bit. Now, am I just perpetuating rumors? Probably. But at the same time, if this is a true thing, this is not good for the league. If this is a true thing, this is not good for the league. If the Germains are still here, which I thought they were gone. As soon as Frisco was done last year, I thought they were dead. Like, I thought the Germains were completely done, out. They're like, hey, we can't sell it to the Allen Americans. We can't do this. Columbus is non-existent. Like, we're done. But apparently they're still around. So what do I know? What do I know? So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of churning wheels, and that's what leads me to believe that that just leads me to believe that this is the reason why this stuff has been so radio silent all year. There's just been power struggles and stuff like that. It's the reason why I think, like, I don't know. And again, I don't want to like go too deep into this because I really don't want to do something along the lines of like, hey, he said this, Cody said this, In the Alley said this, so it's all true. Like, I'm not trying to perpetuate this stuff. I'm just trying to touch on it a little bit and try to make sense of like, try and piece this stuff together. Like, could this be the reason why? Could this not be? I could be completely off base, and that's completely fine. I don't care. I'm not trying to do this for clicks. I'm not trying to do this for rage bait or what have you. I'm just trying to figure this stuff out to be like, okay, is this even true? So to put this out there means that, hey, you've got some information, whether it's true or not. You could be completely baseless in your claims, and that's okay. But like I said, Love FB has been true before. This could be a little bit more of it. So like I said, that's just kind of where I'm going to leave it with that. But that's where we have it with this. Is there some stuff bubbling under the surface? Maybe. But we've seen the Indoor Football League come back from 6 teams. I don't think we're there yet. So that's where I have it. We'll go from there. Let's go talk some odds and ends with Massachusetts, and we'll get out of here. Okay, so finally what I want to talk about are the Massachusetts Pirates, or just the Pirates right now, until they get announced. Now, Massachusetts, or the Pirates, have come out with a new logo. I'm torn on it. I do think it's a more modernized version of what they had with Massachusetts, so I do actually kind of like it. I do want to give credit where it is due as well with this. Whoever designed it, kudos to you. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to pull this shit where it's just like, oh, I'm taking this picture, here it is. So whoever designed it, kudos to you. I do think it looks better than what they previously had. It looks a little bit more modernized, but I did see a comment saying it might be AI generated, and if that's the case, well, that sucks, because AI sucks. I mean, I fucking hate AI. Sorry, I don't mean to cuss. I've done it twice, but I hate it, man. I hate it. But that's where we leave it. I do like the logo. If they put Orlando or Florida or whatever it could be underneath there, that's where we have it. But I do like the logo. They're keeping the colors. That's nice. We just kind of go from there. Now, with that, we do have a press conference for the Pirates. It is announced for next week. It is announced for their next chapter, which means Kevin Durant is going to be part of the team. So his next chapter, their next chapter, look out. We've got a wide receiver in Kevin Durant because he's like 6'7", but he is old. He is old, and Houston might not work out for him. We'll see what the Rockets do this year. But if anything, he will be a Massachusetts or Florida Pirate. No state income tax. That could help him out. Maybe earn another ring. Who knows? Ring chaser. I don't watch the NBA, but I do love the storylines. But that's where we have it. Next week, press conference for Massachusetts / Orlando / the Pirates. And we'll pretty much get told that they're in Florida. They're probably in Orlando. I've not heard really anything to the contrary of Tampa. I mean, that'd be the next leading candidate. Lakeland, probably not. Miami, no. I mean, it's probably Orlando or Tampa. My bet is Orlando. I don't have any underlying knowledge or anything, no sources, no nothing. So that's where we have it with this, just kind of the odds and ends to wrap this stuff up, a little bit of jokes because, basketball. But anyway, that's where we have it. I'm going to call it here and just kind of wrap it all up with everything. Excited to see what happens with this, the schedules and home schedules and stuff that get released here in the next day or two, and really how everything else starts to stack itself up from now until December, January, February, and we start getting those training camp rosters, those final cuts, and everything else. As we know, Vegas and Green Bay will kick us off for 2026, and we just inch ever so closer to the beginning of that season. So with that, I'm going to take off here, guys. As always, I love and appreciate every single one of you for taking the time to watch this video, even if it was 5 seconds, even if it was 5 minutes, even if it was the whole thing, because I know this can be a slog, but I appreciate it. I do. From the bottom of my heart, I do mean it. It's a labor of love to turn this stuff out. I'm sure it's a labor of love for you guys to watch it as well. But with that, I'm going to take off here. I don't really have a scheduled off-season update 3, so be on the lookout for it, and we'll just kind of go from there. But we inch ever so closer, get close to 2026 and the Indoor Football League season for that. But anyway, taking off here, guys. Love and appreciate every single one of you. Until then, see you.